A lot of you watching this video want to start a farm, but how are you going to pay for it? Stay tuned. I recently interviewed a farmer who wrote down 5 goals when he started his market garden. The last one said this: use a farm to buy a farm. That was 7.5 years ago. He just closed on 50 acres. The property cost over $1 million. And here's the thing: he didn't use savings, he didn't take on investors, he didn't inherit land. The farm, the business itself, built the financial track record that made the purchase possible. Today, I want to walk you through that same approach that some of the most financially grounded farmers that I've talked to are using. It's not glamorous. This isn't fast. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's no shortcut. It works, though. And it starts with one idea that many new farmers completely skip. I'm Diego, D-I-E-G-O. Welcome to Modern Grower. Let's get into it. Most people who start a farm want to focus on revenue first. How much can I gross? What can I sell? It's the wrong starting point. The farmer that I featured on the podcast, Tony Barlow, runs Barlow Roots Market in Wisconsin. He put it bluntly. He said that he's amazed at how many people don't even know how much money they spend in their business or their life each month. And his point is simple. If you don't know your monthly number, you can't build a plan. You're simply guessing. Before you buy a single seed, know what your cost of life is. And I mean actually know it. Not a rough sense. The actual number: rent, insurance, groceries, phones, car payments, all of it. How much are you spending to live monthly? Because that number is your floor. Everything you build has to clear that number. Otherwise, how do you survive? Here's where a lot of new farmers make a critical mistake. They have savings, they have spousal income, they have a credit line, and they use that money to fund the farm. Tony Barlow had the opposite approach. He and his wife started Barlow Roots with a $2,000 investment. $2,000, not a high number. And from that point forward, the farm had to pay its own way. No injecting personal savings, no crossing money from his off-farm job into the farm. If the farm wanted to grow, the farm had to fund that growth. It sounds restrictive, but it's actually freeing because it forces you to grow at the pace that your business can actually support. You're not scaling on borrowed money and then scrambling to service that debt with crops you haven't proven that you can even grow or sell yet. When a farm funds its own growth, you make better decisions. You buy the used high tunnel for less than the new one. You wait a year before buying a paper pot transplanter until the numbers say you've earned it. That discipline is often what separates farms that last from farms that flame out. Every farm needs what I'd call a flywheel crop, a crop that generates reliable, repeatable cash week after week and keeps the whole operation turning. A farmer named Elliot Sellner at Fair Share Farm in North Carolina built his entire system around one crop: lettuce. He invested in 20 Caterpillar tunnels. Each tunnel cost about $1,400. And here's the math that made those decisions obvious. One harvest of lettuce from a single tunnel sold at $6 a pound, paid for the entire tunnel. That's a one harvest payback. And with those 20 tunnels, Elliot can deliver lettuce to his customers 40 to 50 weeks a year, meaning it's not a seasonal crop. It's a cash flywheel. Shane at Aslan Organics in Ontario did the same thing with salad mix and quick turn greens. They were his anchor. Every single week, those crops were on the table at the market. No gaps, no excuses. Your flywheel crop might be lettuce, it might be microgreens, it might be radishes, but you need one because without it, You're just hoping that the season goes well. The math. Let's do a business breakdown. Elliot's 20 Caterpillar tunnels cost roughly $28,000. Each tunnel pays for itself in a single harvest. The system lets him serve customers nearly year round with his highest demand product. The move. Identify your one crop that customers buy every single week without fail and start building your infrastructure and investing around that crop first, not around what's exciting to the mindset. A cash flywheel isn't about passion. It's about keeping the lights on so you can afford to grow the fun stuff later. There's a phrase that I keep hearing from farmers who've been around a decade or more, and it goes like this. We were willing to grow slow. Tony Barlow said that directly. He said the key to not burning out was being patient. He even throttled back on his marketing on purpose. If he posted on social media, people showed up. But if they showed up, his stand was empty, he'd lose them. So he held back until the farm could actually deliver for enough customers. Shane's growth in Ontario followed the same pattern. Year one at the farmer's market, his first day was $247, but by peak season that year, he was doing $1,500 market days. Every year after that, the business has grown by 30%. 5 years, from $1,000 a week to $10,000 a week. But he didn't try and get there in year one. He worked off farm in those early years, in the winters, to cover living expenses. He let the farm build its own momentum. Patience here isn't a weakness, it's a strategy. When it comes to farming, let's talk about one big elephant in the room. A lot of farmers feel like having a job off farm means the farm isn't working. I think that can be viewed the wrong way. It's backwards. Tony Barlow works from home doing healthcare consulting. His wife Ingrid runs the farm mornings only because she protects her afternoon for their kids. His income covers household expenses and retirement savings. The farm covers itself. It funds their homestead and puts money into Roth IRAs for each of his kids. Think about that for a second. The farm doesn't have to carry the family's whole financial weight, and because it doesn't, nobody's burning out. Nobody's making desperate decisions, so the farm gets to grow at the pace that the business can support. Shane and his wife took the same approach in their first Ontario years. She worked off farm in the winter. He did too, not because the farm had failed, but because the farm was still building. Off-farm income isn't a crutch. It's a launchpad. The math. Let's do another business breakdown. Tony's farm profit covers roughly half of his family's annual expenses. His consulting income covers the rest, plus retirement savings. If he transitioned into full-time farming tomorrow, there's a gap to close. But he's built a 1-year emergency fund and his retirement accounts are fully funded. That's the position you want to be in when you make the leap. The move. Before you quit anything, know two numbers. How much do you spend living each month? And how much does the farm actually net after every expense? If the gap is too wide, keep your job and let the farm close it year by year, then make the leap. The mindset. Financial independence isn't about making the farm your only income. It's about making the farm's income optional. So when you do go full time, it's a choice, a gamble. So what happens when your farm is ready to fund the next step? That's where Shane's story comes full circle. He had 3 years of consistent growth in Ontario, 30% year over year. He had records. He had the proof that the business was real. And when a 50-acre property became available, costing over $1 million, $25,000 an acre, that is, he could walk into a lender with numbers, not projections, not hope, and actual financial history. He also made the critical decision. He knew that he couldn't buy land and equipment, So he chose land. He already had the skills to run a market garden. For the other 35 tillable acres, he partnered with a commodity crop farmer in a sharecropping arrangement that brings in roughly $15,000 a year. That doesn't cover the full mortgage, but it covers about 2 months, and the market garden can cover the rest. So in Shane's case, the farm bought the farm. What do all three of these farmers have in common? None of them rushed. Tony started with $2,000 and a table of tomatoes at the end of his driveway. Elliot built a system around one caterpillar tunnel at a time. Shane went from a third of an acre to 50 over 9 years. They knew what they spent. They made the farm pay its own way. They found their flywheel crop. They grew slow on purpose. They kept the income streams that took the pressure off. And when it was time to make the big move, they had the numbers to back it up. That's not a story about patience. That is a business plan. Now, go build a farm business and not just a farm. I'm Diego, Diego. Thanks for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment. Till next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.